I feel like I'm gonna start the video off with this and definitely scare away new people, but it's not the first time. Hot girls have tummy issues, and I am currently working with cold water and hot tea to maybe shock my intestines into behaving. Did I read this somewhere? No. Any real life experience say this is a good idea? No, because I need to be free of the confines of my own digestive system. Anywho, hi. I'm Kennie with the shower tummy. And happy Saturday. If you don't know what Saturday is, it's when we do something called Bad Movies in a Beat, the series on my channel where I talk about bad movies while putting my makeup on. So we're looking at a classic today for a lot of people. I'm curious what the reaction to my reaction will be, because this is a movie that was like a big part of some people's childhood. It's not the first time I've gotten a bit controversial. But before we get started, we're gonna send it over to Ad Roll Kennie. Thank you. Hello everyone, this is Ad Roll Kennie. Again, people think I'm saying Admiral. Ahoy there. And today's video is sponsored by ThredUp. ThredUp is the online thrifting store that does not suck. Because thrifting sucks. Like traditional thrifting, especially if you're plus size, especially if you're tall, and God forbid you're both. But with ThredUp, you can search via your size, your style, what you're looking for, clothes, outerwear, shoes, wallets I've gotten off of there. You can find gems from luxury brands, and all of it for a fraction of the price and better for the environment because it's secondhand. I got this here. It's technically a sweater dress, but again, tall. So I could wear it as a really short Tatiana, but it's cold. I guess I could wear it and put some leggings on it so I can give very Midwestern housewife holding a latte or a pumpkin, or a child dressed as a baby bear as the colored leaves fall. Nothing specific. This has a great layering potential. Like it's not too stuffy. It's nice and breathable, but again, layer it with other things and it can be quite warm. This is from Old Navy and I got it for $18.99. This is just a really pretty, long, romantic, again, warm but still thin, layerable maxi dress. It is sleeveless, so in the try on I couldn't lift my arms up because I'm definitely hairy. It also has little cinched ruffles at the end just to be cute. I don't know, I like this. It's also from Old Navy and this was $25.99. Pronto Uomo. Almost like hunting jacket. It looks like Bella Swan would wear in a rainy Seattle winter. Again, another thing that's outerwear, but it's still thin enough that I could put it under a different coat because again, it gets very cold in Michigan. And this was $37.99. Got me a blazer. This one's from Torrid. Really soft, not particularly structured blazer. Again, another thing that could be very easily layered. A little bit more businessy if I have to do something business casual, if I have a presentation or something. Also, it's just this beautiful purpley wine color, whereas the other thing was like a reddy wine color. $56.99. And then last but not least, I got a proper coat. I buy a pea coat at least once every year because I was a Hallyu fan in the early 2010s and I became enamored with a good turtleneck and a good pea coat. Very Gongyu coated. I love it. This actually looks really cool together. Wait a second. Just like some leather accessories, maybe a bag. Again, some boots. And this coat was $37.99. So if you would like to check out ThredUp, feel free to click on the link down below and use my code Kennie for an extra 40% off your first order. Big thanks again to ThredUp for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get on to the debauchery. Last week, we talked about After Everything, which is theoretically, hopefully, the last movie in the After series. After has been quite the meme on this channel. We've talked about every movie, so it's kind of sad to see it come to an end, but also thank God. That's enough. Like, if you like to see how that series ended off, and if you would like to see my video, that will be linked up above, or you can check it out in the Bad Movies in a Beat playlist. I've also been periodically, when I think about it, making mini playlists of series that we come back to, and I believe I have an After one. If I have it, I'll link that up above as well. And this week, we are tackling, again, a movie that... Okay, we're tackling a movie that was a part of a lot of people's childhood, if you're like around my age, maybe a little older. So my friend Chibi, who appeared in last week's video off camera, she's also been on the channel here periodically, but she sent me the link to a TikTok a few weeks ago that was referencing a movie of both of our childhood known as Save the Last Dance 2001. Damn, nigga, she all up in your nut. Up in your nut, cracking it. It was a movie that was produced by the then leading music and culture aficionado MTV. A lot of people around my age really find this movie to be something that they look back on fondly. It's a quintessential early 2000s dance romantic drama that also fit into other very quintessential 90s, early 2000s critiques on racism in class, meaning it's a very late 90s, early 2000s critique on racism in class. But
she returns back to the club, blacker than ever. Look at her go. They're chanting their names.
you know, it's good to see where we've come from, and that's what's important. And that TikTok was quite obviously critical, tongue-in-cheek about the movie, kind of making fun of like the things that we thought were very normal in the early 2000s, especially when you're a kid. Like, I was 6. But I found out through kind of conversations around that TikTok and around just Save the Last Dance online that it was quite a like quintessential movie to a lot more people than I was fully aware of. Like, I saw the movie when I was 6, like when it came out. I saw it once and said, that was boring. And then I went about my day. I didn't like it. I didn't dislike it. I watched it once and it immediately left my memory. But the only thing I remember is a very white woman, like glow in the dark white woman dancing with a black dude. And that was, and like the cover of the movie, her going like this. So this was definitely not something that was very formative for me entertainment wise as a kid. I don't have any nostalgia around it. So I was kind of curious how I would feel about it as a person, again, that has seen the movie, but might as well be seeing it for the first time because I haven't seen it since I was literally in single digits. Julia Stiles plays Sarah, a 17-year-old white girl who is forced to relocate after the death of her mother to move in with her estranged father in the rough streets of Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't really matter, just black people. She starts school at a primarily black high school as a result of moving, but over time she finds connection and love through a black kid named Derek. Sean Patrick Thomas's fine ass. He's still fine as hell. I looked him up, in his 50s. She finds friendship through Derek's sister, played by a pre-scandal Kerry Washington, as well as meaning through the rediscovery of her love of dancing via her new love of hip hop. And with the power of hip hop, the sword of pop and lock, she is able to face her fears and attempt to audition for her dream college, Juilliard, after she failed the first time. So again, the aforementioned TikTok that was making fun of this movie, he talks about kind of how dumb this entire premise is, and it reminded me how much I hate movies like this. I have noticed that generally speaking, Hollywood has calmed down with this particular type of film. The white protagonist, often a woman. This white person is thrust into the world of black people to observe their struggle, find a new level of empathy. They take it on as sort of a crusade to be like, love is love. I can love black people romantically, platonically, familially, a parental sense. I can do the unspeakable. Care about black people. Now, would the movie really be all that much about black people? Not really. It's more so about this white person's romp through black poverty. They, at the end of this experience, are able to become a more actualized person. Love that. The very coexistence of the main character and whoever their black sidekick or love interest or whoever is there to be potent enough to prove that racism is wrong, and that the first steps to ending racism is to either fuck a black person or adopt a Negro. I think the biggest flaw with this movie in particular, at the end of this, the story that we're left with is that black people are just as bigoted, if not more so, than white people, because we don't see them. We don't really see white people all that much. Like, I understand it, I don't agree, but there is this kind of sentiment of like crossing a picket line when you date interracially. Considering a world full of white supremacy, I could see how you reach that conclusion, but it's also not exactly the same as white supremacy. That's what get like that. Those aren't the same. But this movie acts as though it is, and that it's just as much of a problem because we don't really see that many white bigots in this movie. We see one lady who looks at them like, ugh, when they're on the train. I say all that to say that Save the Last Dance is in no way unique considering it was definitely a product of its time. But I will say the thing that really stuck with me the most about this movie, as far as any other critique I could talk about, is just this movie's very tedious, shockingly boring, especially for a movie that a bunch of preteens liked in the early 2000s. I don't know, I guess it appealed to white kids that wanted to fight racism with hip hop, but for whatever reason, lighthearted or cynical, it was a success. It made like $100 million over its budget. I will say overall, the only thing that really held up well over time is the soundtrack. It's great. They bring out the bangers. I'm probably gonna have to sing some of them because y'all not gonna copyright my ass. So without further ado, this is Save the Last Dance, 2001. So our movie opens with our main character, Sarah. She was a ballerina at their old school, the best they had. She was so good that she was gonna audition to go to Juilliard as a ballerina. The day of her audition comes and she's quite nervous. And unfortunately, her mother is so swamped at her job as a florist that she is saying that she might not be able to make it. And this understandably absolutely crushes Sarah. She's like, I can't do it without you. Come on, you have to be there. Like, I'm so nervous without you, please. Her mother, in an attempt to get there in time, rushes to the audition as Sarah performs. Sarah ends up falling during her audition, momentarily frustrated and sad that her mother couldn't be there, and perhaps that threw off her focus. But actually, her mother had been rushing to get to the audition and had actually died in a car crash. Rip. That sounded facetious. I'm so serious. Rip. And being that her mother is now deceased, she's forced to go live with her father, who she doesn't have much a relationship with, so much so that she doesn't even call him her father. She calls him Roy or whatever his name, Ron, something like that. So they're definitely not a close relationship by any means. Ultimately, a completely unfamiliar man who lives in a shanty, eats nothing but hungry man dinners. Ew. Not because it's a TV dinner. I grew up on those. TV dinners are, it is what it is. Hungry man, especially if you eat fried chicken from a TV dinner, I need to sit you down, baby. You not well. It'd be fried chicken in a boat of gravy. It's mushy. It has that distinct frozen chicken taste. Why would you buy anything with a crust when you could get a frozen lasagna, the meatloaf, Salisbury steak, but you get soggy fried chicken in unseasoned gravy that is somehow still 75% of your daily sodium intake? Sorry, not to shame you, but a little bit, because what? But the dad is, I guess, generally kind, a bit ill-equipped to raise anyone, let alone a teenage girl with trauma who just lost her mom. So being that they don't have the closest relationship, she then relies more so on the people that she ends up meeting at her new community school, an all-black school. Egad! And sure, for the lily white girl walking into a pretty much entirely black school, there's a bit of a culture shock, namely all the as well as like metal detectors at the front door, which brought back memories for me in high school because we had that. And the irony is that the most dangerous thing the school had was the security guards. I think I remember one of them, quote unquote, dating a senior, and he was notably absent the next year. He also tried to add me on Facebook when I was like 14. I'm pretty sure one of the health teachers was also a creep. I have no evidence of that. I've just heard things. You worrying about guns in school and you hiring predators. What the hell? But upon entering the school, she quickly starts a good old rivalry. Good old enemies to lovers with a student named Derek as they are in their English class talking about Truman Capote and ultimately how he capitalized off of black novelists who created similar themes well before him, but were left largely unrecognized by the greater, wider audiences. Later, she ends up befriending a girl named Chenille, who is there to kind of show her the ropes, introduce her to some friends. And one time in passing, they end up seeing another girl named Nikki, who will be back later, quote, doing a little hip hop.
It's just a little hip hop.
Now, this prompted me to look into who made this movie because this felt very white or black and out of touch. And come to find out, it was both. But she swiftly becomes close enough friends with Chenille that she feels comfortable complaining to her about the guy in her English class when they see him. She says he's an asshole, he's a know-it-all, Mr. Smarty Pants, that type of energy. And that is when Chenille is like, oh yeah, Derek, that's my brother. And she's like, I don't care if you call him an asshole. But it's not entirely untrue that Derek has an asshole streak. He does hang around a bunch of assholes, one of which is a guy named Malachi, who is fresh from juvie and is ready to, start trouble all over again. And it becomes pretty apparent that his friendship with Malachi is going to be quite a conflict, considering Derek has the desire to go to Georgetown and get into medical school. And so if he ends up in really bad legal trouble in one way or another because of this friend, or just running around with his crew, that could really destroy those dreams and ambitions for him. While they're in the gym, someone notices that Sarah is particularly good at the balance beam, and that forces her to admit that she had a background in dance at her old school. She used to do ballet. So Chenille's like, if you like to dance, you should come with us to a club called Steps that everyone goes to pretty much every weekend. We can get you a fake ID and we can get you in and I can show you some real hip hop. And this is the first of several moments we see that Sarah in this place where she's soon to be infected by the insidious niggerosity, you know, she starts speaking with a little more sass, a little more attitude. And that's a quintessentially black trait, mind you. Nobody else gets an attitude ever.
Look, you talk a lot of shit for someone who never says anything.
Steps ain't no square dance.
That's all right, I dance in circles, probably around you.
But that's how you know she getting more hood. She's getting better at comebacks and stuff like that. But she walks the suspicious streets of Chicago to get to Chenille's house, where she learns slang I've literally never heard in my Negro life.
Cool outfit. Slamming outfit.
I don't know if that's an age thing, a region thing, whatever. It would seem I've been out naked. She meets Chenille's grandmother and her son. You got a junior year civics exam and you got to go home and feed your toddler? There is no way in hell. Birth control, baby. Abortion rights need to be there. Chenille gives Sarah a black over in the car, which basically consists of her just tying her hair up with a scarf. Murder, she wrote. Murder, she wrote. Murder, she wrote. But at the club, we're reintroduced to the girl that was, quote, doing a little hip hop. Her name is Nikki, played by that chick that never ages, Bianca Lawson. She looks just like this today. But Nikki seems to be immediately a bit antagonistic towards Sarah because she's a white girl and crouching on a black club, which is funny because there's another white girl there. This scene happens.
I ain't walking on eggshells just because you brought the Brady Bunch to the Negro Club.
Maybe you came to the wrong spot, because I'm pretty sure there aren't any Negroes here.
Moving on. Chenille ultimately gets Nikki to back off, and it seems that they also have some bad blood because Nikki used to date her brother, and apparently she treated him like crap, so whoa, whoa, shibbity wobbity shibbity dubbity shibbity wobbity dubbity dubbity shibbity whoa. This is so funny because there's gonna be people who have A, never seen this movie, B, never heard that song. So they're gonna be like, what? This is the dancing that Sarah had to be intimidated by? Now, at this club, there's a lot of like storylines overlapping. There's Nikki trying to put the moves on Derek, but he curves her. There's the father of Chenille's son. I think his name is Kennie. Why we always get the deadbeats? There's always some bum named Kennie. Also, how old is this nigga? How old is he supposed to be? Granted, half the cast is already in their 30s, but is he supposed to be a teenager? How old are you? Derek comes up to Sarah and it's obvious that they have a little bit of chemistry. It's not just animosity, there's vibes. He got nice teeth, damn. He goads her into dancing, and after, some moments of awkwardness and discomfort, for some reason or another, Derek becomes her hip hop coach. More on this later, but that's what happens. You got $100 bill, get your hands up. You got a $50 bill, get your hands up. Single ladies, I can't hear y'all. Single ladies, make noise. I never knew there was a love like this before. Never had someone to show me a love like this before. Oh, nope, not fighting during Faith Evans. Come on, this is a feel-good roller brink song. Oh my God. So Malachi ends up getting in a fight with somebody at the club. Apparently someone that he's met on these streets while he was selling drugs of some sort. I don't know. And Derek is there to help break it up. But Malachi seems to have completely lost it, and they have to rush out of the club before the police gets there. And again, during love like this, I would beat your ass myself. Derek ends up walking Sarah home after they escape the ruckus. They chat, they get closer. So much so that they don't even notice that they passed her house, even though it's like a -1,000,000 degree weather.
Gee whiz, I had a great time. Or was that thanks to, like, I'll bust a cap in your ass if you ever darken my doorstep again?
No, I would never bust a cap in your ass.
What? Okay. But her kind of leaving without letting her father know ends up putting a bit of a strain on their relationship, considering, you know, she's damn near adult at this point and you've never been her parent. So why would she listen to you? You're a stranger. Like, deadass, who are you? But now, without explanation, in the next scene, again, Derek has become her dance teacher, her tutor of hip hop. Mind you, she doesn't have anything she's preparing for at this point. But they meet up regularly for him to teach her the ways of hip hop. She illustrates how prim and proper she is by showing her ballerina. They should make a restaurant where ballerinas come out and give you margaritas. They do stupid things like always having her feet turned out to illustrate that she is indeed a ballerina. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. You know that I like it, baby. Ooh, say what, say what, say what. Girl, you know what's up. I'm digging you. I'm feeling you. You know what's up. Is going on? I think more than anything that's very like shocking about this movie is that the dance really does get shoehorned in there. Like, why are we doing this? And something about the complete silence of the scene is also doubly hilarious because they just had music on. Now, to solidify that Malachi is a terrible person, we already had some indication, but he's like really not on a great path right now. We see him abuse one of the female students and kind of shake her down for money, and Sarah just happens to be there to stop it, but Malachi does threaten her to not say anything about what she's seen. So he obviously doesn't have any scruples in regards to violence against girls and women, so that's not a good sign. And later, Sarah kind of brings up her concerns about Malachi, which Derek basically says, I'm devoted to my boy. He went to juvie for me. We were stealing and he ended up getting caught and he didn't rat me out. So like I'm indebted to him in a way. They also end up talking about her mother a little bit and she ends up shutting him out completely when that topic comes up. Oh, bitch, they got Pink when she was Afro-Latina? You make me sick. I want you and I'm hating it. Got me licked like a candlestick. Get too hot when you touch the tip. I'm feeling it. I gotta get a grip on it. Driving me crazy, baby, don't you quit. Can't get enough of it. You got me going again, baby. You got me going again. You make me sick. For those of you not old enough to either not know who Pink is, I don't know what to do. But if you're not old enough to remember that Pink came out in R&B and hip hop first and was kind of vaguely passing as a very light-skinned black woman for a minute there. Oh, God. Race in America. What can I say? So there's more dance montages and random buildings. And again, we have no reason to suspect that they're training for anything in particular. They're just dancing and they're going to all these places. Like, and also what is prompting him to train her for hip hop? Derek ends up getting accepted to Georgetown. Great. So it seems like he's that much closer to achieving his dream. And another part of his dream seems to be getting closer to Sarah. They end up playing a song while they like get a little touchy-feely during a train while an angry white woman glares them down. And I really liked it. I didn't remember it from the early, like I didn't know this song. So I was trying to look up what Toni Braxton's song this was. It's not Toni Braxton. It's Jesse Powell. It's a banger though. I'm sorry. But it goes to show that the movie was intended to make a statement. And admittedly, I don't remember how groundbreaking a scene like this would have been in 2001. But at least in the context of this movie, this is a very, like, big deal. Later, Derek ends up taking her to see a ballet. And this causes her a lot of stress because she hasn't done anything in relation to ballet since her mom's death. So after it prompts her into telling him about the death and all the guilt that she felt that she died on the way trying to see her. And he's there to comfort her and ask her what she wants. Does she still want Juilliard? and she admit that she does. And so this is the turning point that would make sense for why we would start training. Yeah, they start training her to prepare for Julia. Right, they also kiss. All is nice. So she breaks out her slippers, starts training because she's a bit rusty, and she plans to use this most recent Dragon Ball, the power of hip hop that she's collected, in order to distinguish her from the other people auditioning. You can do it. Put your back into it. I can do it. Put your ass into it. Put your back into it. Put your ass into it. Back to the club. Sarah's definitely more comfortable this time than she used to be, especially considering they had a whole choreograph thing to do between her and Derek. Like, y'all been choreographing this for a minute. Was that why we were dancing? But just when everything seems to be going good, here comes Nikki being a hater. She comes trying to get Derek's attention. And at first it's like, oh, we're just all dancing. But it becomes pretty apparent that she's there trying to get Derek's attention away from Sarah. She's like dancing all up on him, and eventually Sarah leaves. And just when things seemingly couldn't get worse, here comes Malachi to tell her that, you know, you white. He says it in more words than that, but that's ultimately what it boils down to. Of course, y'all relationship won't look as good as him with a light-skinned black girl. Yo white ass, yo non-black ass, alabaster butt. Derek comes to her, basically assures her that it was just dancing. It didn't mean anything, and I never meant to make you feel like I was at all interested in her. That's not what that was at all. And so she forgives him. That night, her dad is working, so she brings him to the home, and they get real interracial. But things can't be good with Malachi around, and he's basically like, Derek, you done changed because you started dating a white girl. You should come meet some girls with us on the west side. And Derek is like, no. Both because he's not interested in meeting with anybody else, and two, because he knows that Malachi is going on the west side to do some illegal shit and about to get in trouble again, and I don't want to be involved in it. And he's like, yeah, you done changed so much since you started dating a white girl. Nikki and Sarah end up getting in a fight at the gym. And Nikki ends up saying something along the lines of, white girls like you come up, steal our men. Like the whole world ain't enough. You got to steal them too. I was saying in my initial complaints in the beginning of this video, I don't think this movie has enough focus on white supremacy in my book. It makes it look like black women's anxieties around white women and black men comes out of their own quote unquote innate jealousy and inadequacy to white women, which is bullshit. It's because the world is constantly yelling at black women and saying that they're undesirable. So perhaps some take it a bit closer to heart when they see the men that are closest in proximity to them, in their eyes, second that notion, and that hurts. This whole movie is interesting to me, looking at it as from a black lens from 2023, a black lens of a person who's never given a about who people date, as long as they're not being shitty to other races in the process, which tends to be an issue with black men. So I get where this is coming from, because a lot of black men, they'll date other races, but they'll do it just because they're not black women. So if you ask them like, oh, why do you like dating white women in particular? Because black women, I didn't say that. Ain't nobody mentioned black women. Why do you like dating white women? And it's exhausting. So I get how this could be very triggering. Me personally, I've always been very date the people that treat you well. I don't think any man is a prize. I've interacted with pretty much all major food groups of men, and they all ain't shit. So don't worry. If you want somebody else to treat you like shit, you can get it in Negro flavor. You can get it in Asian, Latino, in brown, yellow, purple people eater. You can find a man to not treat you like shit. Don't worry. I say all that to say this movie doesn't do a good job of kind of articulating what is really at the core of that. It just makes every black person around this one white girl seem antagonistic and hostile to her for no reason. And it makes it seem as though black people are what perpetuate that. Anyway, at another point, Derek is playing basketball with Malachi and some of their other friends, and there ends up being a drive-by shooting at the time. Luckily, no one gets seriously hurt. But this is further making Derek be forced to understand that hanging around Malachi is innately putting himself in danger. So when Malachi insists that they get payback on the people that tried to shoot at them, Derek is like, I don't know. And things become more and more clear, especially when, Malachi ends up trying to attack Sarah, that Malachi sees Derek as a traitor because he pushes back on that. Side note, Malachi calls her trailer trash, a term I have not heard in a very long time. And when you think back on it, the term trailer trash is wild. Chanel's struggling to raise her child, as you'd imagine. She's like 16, and the father doesn't have much money, and he only pops in every once in a blue moon. So she's obviously starting to get more and more stressed when things come up. She takes the kid to the doctor with Sarah, and this is another situation where Sarah is forced to realize that she's white again. But when Chanel comes back, they kind of get on the conversation of Nikki losing it with her earlier. Chanel is kind of like, well, I get it. Derek is a good guy. He's a good man. He's one of the few good black men out there. And here comes some white girl taking him. That is incredibly anti-black. Especially to this white girl. Which brings me to one of the bigger gripes that I've always had, especially during this time period, before I really knew the words to say. But even as a child, I had always gotten this sense that a lot of black movies felt less about entertaining a black audience and more so introducing white people to quote unquote blackness. And in order to do that, blackness has to be whittled down to this very singular, digestible understanding of what the black experience is. The teenage mother who had a mom who went to jail for doing drugs, constant drive-bys, fears of getting hurt on a regular basis. And though that is a reality for some black people, even for those people that it's a reality for, it's not their only reality, if that makes sense. Like, I grew up in an area where I pretty regularly heard people shooting. We assume it's shooting because why are you doing firecrackers in October, you know? But I wasn't constantly being asked to join a gang. Like, I didn't have all of these deeply harrowing things as a black teen or a black kid at this point. So it is fair to say that growing up in Detroit, Michigan as a black kid, there were some experiences that I know that I had in relation to, you know, surrounding poverty, education systems, other students were going through that are unique to certain aspects of general, very general black society in the United States because white supremacy. But it's also funny that we don't get any of the other parts of it. Honestly, if Sarah went to a black school, she'd probably be more pressured into watching anime than doing drugs or doing a little hip hop or whatever the For a very long time, you could not get a black movie made if it wasn't about the civil rights, slavery, police brutality, or like horrible domestic violence. Like, damn, bitch, black people can't get a rom-com? No, the black experience is nothing but struggle. They cannot have like any other human experience. Just be beaten down mentally and physically for our entertainment. And then saved by the one good white person. I don't know how I got on that whole rant, but she, again, this very like anti-black notion of like, there's no good black people, no good black men, and you're taking the one good black man. Like, hello. Black men ain't no worse than any other man. Hate to break it to you, men aren't necessarily socialized to be the most emotionally intelligent. Within the movie though, Chanel's outburst is definitely supposed to be a projection of how she's stuck with her deadbeat baby daddy, which again, I don't know how old this man is supposed to be in the movie. If he's supposed to be 17, what the you expect him to be? What is it? Like, what, how he gonna provide? With a paper route? Like, what the fuck? Again, sex education, contraception, abortion. Very important, baby. So after this, Sarah feels guilty dating Derek as a white girl, and she suggests to him that maybe they cool it on their relationship for a bit, considering it seems to be causing so many problems for both of them. This causes an argument because Derek is like, I've been defending you against friends and family, and because I thought we were in this together, and you're telling me that you want to just give up. And she's like, well, if I'm ruining your life so much, then we should just end it. So now they're broken up. And Derek goes to Malachi and they make up because, you know, homies over hoes. So with that, Malachi is like, oh, you gonna do illegal shit with me on the west side? And he's like, sure. Meanwhile, Sarah's doing her dance montage, doing whatever the hell this shit is. And she's, you know, preparing to face her demons at the audition again. Her and her dad make up. He fixes her bedroom because when she first got there, it looked very Bando-esque. It looked like it smelled real musty and damp. But this is the first step of mending their relationship. And though it's awkward, it's going in the right direction. So yay. Chanel admits to Derek that she talked to Sarah about their relationship, which is probably why she went cold on him. And she apologizes and says that he can't control who he loves and shouldn't try to. So Derek leaves to talk to Malachi and see Sarah. And there's Chanel's baby daddy coming to talk to her. I guess now he's trying to man up and take care of his child. Derek goes up to Malachi and gives him his final plea to not go through with his gang shit. Malachi is like, all I have is my respect, so I'm gonna do this hood shit with my friends, which ultimately results in him getting arrested and somebody gets shot. I don't remember if it was one of his friends or somebody else, but somebody died. Anyway, it's the night of her audition. And Derek runs to her audition because it's the early 2000s. You always had to have a man running in a romantic movie. She's there and her nerves are getting at her again. But here comes Derek just in time to rush onto the stage and say, "You can do this, white woman." And then she does the most confusing performance that I can only assume is supposed to be impressive. What the fuck? It's her mix of hip hop and ballet, combining everything that she's learned. Not the bitch hitting the heel toe. I'm dead. Anyway, this performance was incredibly impressive according to the Juilliard people. She's basically accepted on the spot. There, she's done it. She's taken all the black knowledge that she needed to reach her actualization. Sarah and Chanel make up and everybody is accepting of Derek and Sarah's relationship. They have a dance party as the credits roll and they play Girl, If It's Alright, let's go somewhere and get it on tonight. Do-do-do-do. I got a girl, but you look good tonight. It's one-on-one tonight. So yeah, that's the movie. Do I like it as an adult? I think it's pretty clear. No, no, I don't. 6-year-old me was definitely right. She was on to something. Again, more than the premise that didn't age great, the thing I dislike the most about this movie is that it's incredibly tedious and overall underwhelming. It really is. It didn't garner any particular strong emotion from me. It's actually quite boring and way too long for what the movie is. Even though it's only an hour, it's under 2 hours. It's like an hour and 50 something minutes. It's just like, ugh. But with that said, I am aware that it's some people's favorite movie even to this day. Again, I don't have any nostalgia around it to make it better. But I am curious after I've like ripped it to shreds. But like, no, I am curious for any of you that may have had a bit of a history with it. Like it was a part of your childhood or a part of film that you really like, that really inspired you in some way or another. I am obviously taking a bit of a pessimistic, cynical stance on it, but I'm curious if there's like things that I'm missing, like some value that I am not seeing because I'm not seeing it. This movie sucks. But yeah, that's all for today, folks. If you like today's video, feel free to like today's video. Follow me on all my social media, Instagram and Twitter. And that's all, folks.